you want to read it?
I'll do that.
No, you can't. Because I said so.
I'm gonna win.
It's already written.
No, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedshani b'mitzvotav v'tzivim b'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Page 6. How about
So, 7.
what's that? You want me to start?
Yep, they're at top of page 6.
Okay. We enter the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls we sit, surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout a long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross this threshold, weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer.
May the doors of the synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, things to express, hopes and nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May the synagogue be for all who enter the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
On page 10, Hine Matov at the top.
Page 14. At the top, sing to Adonai.
Are you going to read it? Okay. Sing to Adonai a new song. Sing to Adonai all earth. Sing to Adonai, bless God's name. Proclaim God's victory day after day. Tell of God's glory among the nations, God's wondrous deeds among all peoples. For Adonai is great and much acclaimed. God is held in awe by all divine beings. All the gods of the people are mere idols. But Adonai made the heavens. Glory and majesty are before God. Strength and splendor are in God's temple. Let the heaven rejoice with the earth. The sea with its thunder. The fields, everything in them exult. Then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai, for God is coming. God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its peoples faithfulness.
Page 20 for Lachat Yodi. Page 26. All right. Exalted and hallowed be God's great name in the world which God created, according to plan. May God's majesty be revealed in the days of our lifetime, and the life of all Israel, speedily, imminently, to which we say, Amen.
Blessed be God's great name to all eternity. Blessed, praised, honored, exalted, extolled, glorified, adored, and lauded be the name of the Holy Blessed One, beyond all earthly words and songs of blessing, praise, and comfort, to which we say, Amen.
We read silently on page 27. All right. All right. Please rise for the Barachon.
Oh
praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night, as heaven spans to infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise you, Adonai our God, from who the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai.
Top of page 32. Avat olam yet Israel alka havata Torah umitzvot ukim umishpatim utanu limladta elchin Adonai elchenu bish bochenu kumenu nesach bichukecha vismach bidivrei toracha uv mitzvoteka leolam ba'ed. Kehim Keinu, Vaorek Yemenu, Uvahem Naege Yoman, Velela, Vahavat Cha, Altasir, Mimenu, Leolamim, Baruch Ta Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvah, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life. Enjoying them lengths our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 34 and 35 for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kibel Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Page 36 for Ve'ahavta.
And together in English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you sit at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God.
All right, page 39, middle of the page.
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say Adonai. There is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets, instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in the dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nation will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Page 40, Michamocha.
Page 43, mid-page.
Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety. And in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Over all we love. Over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai. Boresh, Shabbat, Shalom,
Aleinu,
Yaakov,
Amo Yisrael,
All
Ve'al
Yerushalayim.
Yerushalayim.
Page 44 for Mishamru. Please stand and read silently, starting at page 155.
Shalom Rob on page 164. Please be seated. On page 164 at the top, Shalom Rob. Silent prayer on page 165.
As you may have noticed, there's a little bit of a French theme going on in the service this evening because July 14th is, after all, Bastille Day. I found an interesting article. I was looking on the internet for Jews in the French Revolution and came across an interesting essay written by David Alberbach in the London Jewish Chronicle. I thought I'd share it with you this evening. It'll take maybe about 10 minutes or so. Anti-Semitism on the left can be traced, perhaps surprisingly, to the French Enlightenment and the French Revolution, which opposed all religion, Judaism included. 19th century liberalism made possible the modernization of Jewish life with vast improvements in education, professional training, social mobility, income, and life chances. But the liberal state also led to the rise of chauvinistic nationalism and also anti-Semitism. France was the first modern European state, the first to emancipate its Jews in 1791, the pioneer of democracy and civil rights, of secular universalist values such as liberty and equality, promising an end to religious prejudice, intolerance, and superstition. These ideals derived from the French Enlightenment, led by thinkers such as Voltaire and Rousseau. The European Jews were among the chief beneficiaries of the French Revolution. They did not at first see the liberal state as a mortal threat, a destructive force bringing plunder, murder, and regicide, as Tolstoy writes in the opening pages of War and Peace, but rather glowingly, as the Russian liberal aristocrat Pierre Bezhukov sees it, conferring human rights, emancipation from prejudice, and equality. Few predicted that the Enlightenment, poisoned by anti-Judaism, could lead to a politically virulent secular variation on medieval bigotry. The liberal state offered Jews citizenship protection and potential freedom from a church which condemned them as Christ killers, and from the ignorant masses as usurers, conspirators, plague carriers, and child murderers. Increasingly secular governments accepted that medieval anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish laws had no place in the modern state, a view that was happily shared by the enlightened upper-class liberal minority. However, most Europeans were reluctant to accept Jews as equals. The prospect of emancipation was often a trigger for popular anti-Jewish riots. Emancipation was granted not as a natural human right, which is the way the U.S. Constitution regards these things, on principle, not as a natural human right, on principles of pluralism and tolerance, but with general expectation that Jews would vanish through total assimilation, even baptism, a modern version of the old Christian hope of Jewish acceptance of the Christian faith. The French revolutionary Count Stanislas de Clermont-Tonnerre declared in 1789 that civil rights should be granted to Jews not as Jews, but as individual citizens. The Jews should be denied everything as a nation, but granted everything as individuals. Of the great 18th century French thinkers, only Montesquieu was willing to accept Jews as they were, without change or conversion to Christianity. Other European liberal supporters of emancipation, such as Herder, Macaulay, Renan, Mommsen, were prone to anti-Semitic prejudices. The historian Arthur Hertzberg described Voltaire, the leading figure of the Enlightenment, as a link between medieval church-based anti-Semitism and modern racial anti-Semitism. To Voltaire, the Jews were an ignorant and barbarous people who long united the most sordid avarice with the most detestable superstition and the most invincible hatred for every people by whom they are tolerated and enriched. Still, we ought not to burn them. Similar ideas were expressed by Baron de Holbach, who wrote of Jews as totally and hopelessly foreign to Europe, and Diderot, to whom Jews were dangerous enemies of the human race. To the historian Jacob Talmont, the French Revolution gave birth to totalitarian democracy. Blatant violations of freedom and human rights in the name of freedom and human rights, state terror and mass murder in the name of individualism. Napoleon, who labeled the Jews as the vilest of all nations, tried to backtrack on emancipation with some decree in 1808. Anti-Jewish restrictions abolished by the revolution were restored for a decade. This was the first ominous sign that European states could revoke emancipation. Still, however limited and insecure, emancipation gave the Jews the best chance since antiquity to escape the abject role thrust upon them as a hated religious minority. In a crucial development in modern Jewish life, a small but growing minority of late 18th and early 19th century Jews, particularly in German lands, found common ground with Enlightenment thinkers in their rejection of traditional religious education and dogma. After the Hep anti-Jewish riots of 1819, a group of Berlin-based Jewish intellectuals, led by the historian Leopold Zunz, founded the Wissenschaft des Judentums, the science of Judaism, the start of modern Jewish scholarship, and undertook a searching historical critical reevaluation of Judaism and Jewish society. In a list of so-called Jewish failings, compiled in December 1819, Zunz condemned traditional Jewish schools. They belong to an obsolete way of life, dictated by rabbinic authority, teaching empty learning and superstition, not useful subjects that might improve life chances. Jews who remained ignorant in secular studies, Zunz concluded, were able to contribute little to contemporary sciences or liberal arts. This much was true, but the Wissenschaft set out to fight the anti-Semitic corollary that Jews were an inferior people, that their religion superseded by Christianity, intellectually incapable of making any significant contribution to any branch of knowledge. To the contrary, Zunz and his allies aimed to show in incontrovertible scholarship that Jews, despite their antiquated educational system, had a uniquely rich cultural history with an exacting intellectual tradition. Though ignorant in secular learning, they had a much higher level of literacy and general culture than most Europeans. Why should Jews aiming for acceptance in enlightened Christian society be expected to convert to Christianity or to derogate Judaism, or at least, as some Wissenschaft scholars thought, to regard it as passé? Heinrich Heine, Germany's leading poet after the death of Goethe in 1831, broke with anti-Semitic stereotypes, as did Zunz and other Wissenschaft scholars, by portraying Judaism in his writings as a profound and beautiful civilization. However, it was hardly the intention of liberals that emancipation should enable Jews to become leading writers, scientists, politicians, artists, and intellectuals, nor that emancipated Jews such as Heine should fight back against the prejudice and hatred they encountered. Anti-Semitism in Western Europe grew with Jewish assimilation and social mobility. A vast anti-Semitic literature was published under the principle of free speech, and by the end of the 19th century, even liberal political parties began to adopt anti-Semitic platforms. In his book on the Rothschilds, Niall Ferguson points out that in France there were more anti-Semitic publications than anywhere else, and French anti-Semitism was most articulate and all-pervasive. Liberals with genuine philo-Semitic sympathy, such as Byron or George Eliot, were rare in continental Europe. Byron in particular, strongly identified with the exiled Jews, perhaps as a child himself of the defeated Scots, pursued by an idiot hatred, and he recognized sooner than most Jews did the power of Jewish culture to achieve a national renaissance. George Eliot had a deep personal fascination with the Jewish historic attachment to Zion. In Daniel Deronda in 1876, she writes of Zionism as being far more fruitful culturally than Jewish assimilation within Europe. Yet regularly, from the time of Voltaire to the Nazi era, Christian Zionism was a code for the reduction or elimination of the European Jewish population. Anti-Semitism became a driving force of Jewish nationalism. By 1891, the 100th anniversary of the emancipation of the French Jews, French anti-Semitism was so pervasive that the Zionist thinker Ahad Ha'am, in a lacerating Hebrew essay, declared his preference for Jewish life under Tsarist anti-Semitic autocracy over French liberalism with its so-called liberté, égalité, et fraternité. The founder of political Zionism, Theodor Herzl, deeply wounded by anti-Semitism, particularly in France, acknowledged that European Jews had no choice but to accept that the majority saw them as an alien presence. Emancipation could not have for its purpose Jewish assimilation among people who did not want them. Instead, Herzl wrote, its purpose was the Jewish rediscovery of national identity and the recreation of a Jewish homeland. Most Jews and Jewish communal organizations strongly resisted Herzl's conclusion, and Herzl was often regarded with suspicion and hostility as a dangerous crank even as France and other countries became steadily more chauvinistic and xenophobic in the years prior to the First World War. Prejudice of all kinds, at times worse than anti-Semitism, spread throughout Europe with frequent language of racism and ethnic cleansing, which found violent expression in the war. And yet, as the historian Paula Hyman noted, the French Jewish leadership behaved as though the true France was living up to its revolutionary ideals and deserved patriotic loyalty. Jews were reluctant to give up the international liberalist ideals of the good state dedicated to freedom, justice, and equality. They refused to see themselves as anything other than citizens of France, Holland, Italy, Hungary, Romania, Poland, and elsewhere, and remained loyal to the state. In the years prior to the Holocaust, even as liberal states rescinded emancipation, German Jews accepted the legality of the German government after 1933. Most tried to adapt to the Nuremberg laws of 1935, as did Italian Jews after the racial laws of 1938. And French Jews, too, recognized the legality of the Vichy government and its anti-Jewish laws of 1940. Hannah Arendt, interned in a French camp in 1941, admitted after her escape to America that most of the internees were so loyal to France that they felt unable to criticize the French government's order to intern them. We declared that it was all right to be interned. The European Jews were rounded up in the millions and murdered, mostly blind to the murderous forces of liberal states that had emancipated them. So it appears that the French Revolution, at least as far as Europe's Jews were concerned, was a double-edged sword. It came with certain blessings and it came with certain curses. All right, I think we have a special follow-up.
All right. I found this on Google. Bastille Day marks the history event of July 14, 1789, when French citizens joined forces and stormed the Bastille prison fortress, signaling to the onset of the French Revolution. I even made a little song about this. It's a parody of Do You Hear the People Sing from Les Mis. Do you hear the people sing, singing the song of Haktiva? It is the music of the Jews who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there's a l'chaim about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me? Beyond the wailing wall, is there a world you long to see? Then join in the fight that will give us the right to be free. Do you hear the people sing, singing the song of Haktiva? It is the music of the Jews who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a l'chaim about to start when tomorrow comes.
We have a special reading as the continuation of Vive la Resistance continues. A special reading by Max and Kathleen.
And you want us to go on after that? Yes. Why I Am a Jew is an essay that describes the thoughts and feelings of a man estranged from his Judaism as he comes to embrace his religion with fervor. Edmund Flegg, whose real name was Flegenheimer, first published this book in 1928 when he was 54 years old, living in Paris. He poses an interesting question. Was Judaism essentially revolutionary? If moral, social, and international progress means revolution, yes. But not if revolution implies violence. A conclusion? I came to realize that anti-Semitism had only one seemingly valid ground, the determination of Jews to remain Jews. At the very end of the book, there are 12 statements that all begin, I am a Jew because, je suis juif parce que.
Je suis juif parce que né d'Israël et l'ayant perdu, je l'ai senti revivre en moi plus souvent que moi-même.
I am a Jew because, born of Israel and having lost it, I feel it revive within me more alive than I am myself.
Speak more into the microphone.
Je suis juif parce que né d'Israël et l'ayant retrouvé, je veux qu'il vive après moi plus vivant qu'en moi-même.
I am a Jew because, born of Israel and having found it again, I would have it live after me, even more alive than it is within me.
Je suis juif parce que la foi d'Israël n'exige de mon esprit aucune application.
I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires no abdication of my mind.
Je suis juif parce que la foi d'Israël réclame de mon cœur toutes les appellations.
I am a Jew because the faith of Israel asks any possible sacrifice of my soul.
Je suis juif parce qu'en tout lieu où pleure une souffrance, le juif pleure.
I am a Jew because in all places where there are tears and suffering, the Jew weeps.
Je suis juif parce qu'en tout temps où crie une désespérance, le juif espère.
I am a Jew because in every age when the cry of despair is heard, the Jew hopes.
Je suis juif parce que la parole d'Israël est la plus ancienne et la plus nouvelle.
I am a Jew because the message of Israel is the most ancient and the most modern.
Je suis juif parce que la promesse d'Israël est la promesse universelle.
I am a Jew because Israel's promise is the universal promise.
Je suis juif parce que pour Israël, le monde n'est pas achevé, les hommes l'achèvent.
I am a Jew because for Israel the world is not finished. Men will complete it.
Je suis juif parce que pour Israël, l'homme n'est pas créé, les hommes le créent.
I am a Jew because for Israel man is not yet completed. Men are completing him.
Je suis juif parce qu'au-dessus des nations et d'Israël, Israël place l'homme et son unité.
I am a Jew because Israel places man and his unity above nations and above Israel itself.
Je suis juif parce qu'au-dessus de l'homme, l'image de la divine unité, Israël place l'unité divine et sa divinité.
I am a Jew because above man, the image of the divine unity, Israel places the unity which is divine.
Page 253 for the Mishabera. Are there any names that we are saying the Misha Barak for this evening?
Mary Singer,
Barb Cyril, Ken Elliott, Dee Lennox. Kathy Lafkow.
Anyone else? I'm saying the Misha Barak for Kent Cooper. Pete, please turn to page 282 for the Elena. Oh, please rise.
Let us read the names for the current years of those we've lost. Barry Roth, brother of Bob Roth. Pearl Beller Davis, mother of Terry Benson, mother-in-law of Fred Benson. Lindsay Michelle Lippa, niece of Sherry and Wayne Worker. Keith Kelly, husband of Rona Kelly. Edith Levin, cousin of Sherry and Wayne Worker. Judy Foster, mother of Eric Foster and mother-in-law of April Foster. Elizabeth Turk, mother of Amber Myers. Michael Falk, brother of Lori Barnum. Daniel Bowlen, nephew of Joel and Joni Abramowitz. In the prior years, we remember Mary Barker, Larry Berlin, William Cherikos, Florence Betty Cohen, Rose Tucker Cohn, Lee W. Ensel, Michael Goldstein, Helen S. Grauman, Philip Eisenberg, Minnie Kahn, Mary Cartman, Millie Lang, and Sylvia Nussbaum.
Can I ask you, Harry Harless, my grandfather, and Edith Wall, my mother.
And most recently, Natalie's father, Al Cartman. All right, will you join us and rise for the Kaddish of page 294? Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemay Rabbah, Yalam, Yibrach, 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 Israel, Bakal, Yisman, Kuri, Vimru, Amen, Yehei, Shemay Rabbah, Barak, Yalam, Yibrach, Yibrach, Yishabach, Yitzhar, 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 Yidhar, Yidhaleg, Yidhar, Yidrim, Yidhar, 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 Amen. Shalom.
discussing what an appropriate closing song would be, Vive la France or something like that came to mind, but we thought this being Shabbat, rather than Vive la France, Am Yisrael Chai, which is on what page is it?
338.
338, and that will be followed by, because I'm sure you'll want an encore. That will be followed by Adon Olam on, what page is it? 729. Anyway, we'll find Adon Olam. In the meantime, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Page 321. We may need some help on this one. Adon Olam Asher Malav B'Terikol Yisir Nivra Li'ekasam B'Nefesh Tobol Azam B'Nefesh Mon Yikra Li'ekasam B'Nefesh Tobol Azam B'Nefesh Mon Yikra V'Yasarei L'Kmachol down to the fifth stanza. Biado, Achi Ruchi, Betishan, Biadira, Bimruchi, Biati, Adonani, Veloira, Biadruchi, Achi Ruchi, Adonani, Veloira. Gambling, on my bar.
Shabbat Shalom. And downstairs, I brought a little extra French wine